They said Roman Reigns was finished. They said his time was over. They said the tribal chief had been dethroned for good. Well, guess what? They were all wrong, and last night at WWE Night of Champions 2025, Roman Reigns didn't just return, he came back with a vengeance that's going to make everyone who doubted him pay the price. But here's what's got the entire wrestling world losing their minds: Roman didn't come back alone. He didn't come back as the same old tribal chief. No, this man orchestrated the most diabolical comeback in WWE history by reforming the Shield with Jacob Fatu and Naomi, and their first target? Seth Rollins and his entire faction got obliterated. If you think you know what happened, you don't. If you think this was predictable, you're delusional. What went down last night is going to change everything about WWE's future, and I'm about to break down every single shocking detail that has fans demanding answers. Night of Champions 2025 was supposed to be Seth Rollins' night of triumph. The architect had spent months building his faction, recruiting the hungriest superstars on the roster, and positioning himself as the new face of WWE's future. His faction, consisting of Ricochet, Ivar from the Viking Raiders, and surprisingly, Kevin Owens, had been dominating Monday Night Raw for weeks. Seth's master plan seemed foolproof. With Roman Reigns nowhere to be seen for months, with the Bloodline storyline seemingly concluded, and with WWE moving in a new direction, Rollins had convinced everyone, including WWE management, that he was the undisputed leader of the new era. The main event was set, Seth Rollins defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Cody Rhodes in what was being billed as a passing of the torch moment. The crowd was electric, the stakes were impossibly high, and everyone in the arena believed they were witnessing the dawn of a new chapter in WWE history. But what nobody knew, what nobody could have predicted, was that Roman Reigns had been orchestrating the most elaborate comeback plan in professional wrestling history. While everyone thought he was sitting at home, licking his wounds from his previous defeats, Roman was actually recruiting, planning, and preparing for a return that would send shockwaves through the entire industry. The match between Seth and Cody was everything you'd expect: brutal, emotional, and technically outstanding. Both men gave everything they had, trading devastating moves and near-falls that had the crowd on their feet. But as the match reached its climax, something felt different. There was an electricity in the air, a sense that something monumental was about to happen. Then it happened. Just as Seth Rollins was about to deliver his finishing move to Cody Rhodes, the arena went completely black. The silence was deafening for what felt like an eternity, and then, boom. Roman Reigns' music hit, but it wasn't the same music we'd heard before. This was different. Darker. More menacing. The entrance ramp exploded with pyrotechnics as Roman emerged, but he wasn't alone. Walking beside him was Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf himself, looking like he was ready for war. But the real shock, the moment that had everyone's jaws on the floor, was when Naomi stepped out as the third member of this new alliance. The crowd's reaction was insane. People were screaming, crying, some were so shocked they couldn't even react. Social media exploded within seconds. Wrestling fans around the world were frantically posting, sharing, and trying to process what they were witnessing. But this wasn't just a surprise return, this was a statement. Roman, Jacob, and Naomi weren't just walking to the ring, they were marching to war. Their coordinated black tactical gear, their synchronized movements, their cold, calculated expressions, everything about their presentation screamed dominance. Seth Rollins' face went white. Cody Rhodes, despite being in the middle of a championship match, stopped dead in his tracks. Even the referee seemed frozen in disbelief. The entire arena had been transported into an alternate reality where the impossible had just become reality. What happened next wasn't just an attack, it was a massacre. Roman's new Shield didn't just interfere in the match, they systematically dismantled everything Seth Rollins had built over the past several months. Jacob Fatu entered the ring first, and his presence alone was enough to clear both Seth and Cody from the squared circle. But Fatu wasn't interested in the championship match, he had bigger targets in mind. Seth's faction members, who had been stationed at ringside to ensure their leader's victory, suddenly found themselves facing a force of nature they weren't prepared for. Ricochet tried to mount an offense, but Jacob Fatu caught him in mid-air and delivered a devastating Samoan drop that sent shockwaves through the arena. The crowd's reaction was a mixture of awe and terror as they witnessed Fatu's raw power and intensity up close. Meanwhile, Naomi was handling business of her own. When Kevin Owens attempted to blindside Roman from behind, Naomi intercepted him with a precision and ferocity that left everyone speechless. Her athletic ability had always been respected, but seeing her in this new role, as an enforcer, as a destroyer, was something entirely different. But Roman Reigns? Roman was in a league of his own. The man who had been written off, who had been counted out, who had been forgotten by so many fans, was moving through Seth's faction like they were enhancement talent. Every Superman punch landed with the force of a man who had months of frustration and anger to release. But here's what made this attack truly diabolical: it wasn't just about physical dominance. Roman's new shield was engaging in psychological warfare that cut deeper than any wrestling move ever could. Roman grabbed a microphone and, standing over the fallen body of Seth Rollins, delivered words that will haunt the architect forever. "You thought you could replace me? You thought you could erase my legacy? You thought wrong, and now you're going to acknowledge me in the most painful way possible." The crowd was hanging on every word as Roman continued his verbal assault. This isn't the same Shield you remember. This isn't the same Roman Reigns you defeated. We are evolution. We are vengeance. And we are just getting started. Jacob Fatu, microphone in hand, added his own terrifying promise. For months, people have been asking when the Samoan werewolf would truly be unleashed. Well, now you have your answer. Anyone who stands against this family will be hunted, caught, and destroyed. But it was Naomi who delivered the most chilling message of all: "You all thought you knew what I was capable of. You all thought you had me figured out. But standing with these warriors, fighting alongside this family, I'm going to show you a side of me that will make you question everything you thought you knew about power." The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. Seth's faction wasn't just physically beaten, they were mentally broken, emotionally shattered, and spiritually crushed. As Roman's new shield stood tall in the center of the ring, surrounded by the carnage they had created, the implications of what had just happened began to sink in for everyone watching. This wasn't just a surprise return, this was a hostile takeover of the entire WWE landscape. The championship match that was supposed to crown a new era had been completely forgotten. Cody Rhodes, despite being an innocent bystander in this war, found himself caught in the crossfire of something much bigger than any individual championship. The look in his eyes suggested he understood that his own future had just become infinitely more complicated. But the real victims were Seth Rollins and his faction. Months of planning, weeks of dominance, and dreams of a new era had been obliterated in less than 15 minutes. Seth, struggling to get back to his feet, looked like a man who had just watched his entire world crumble before his eyes. The crowd's reaction was unlike anything we'd seen in recent memory. Some fans were cheering for the return of Roman Reigns, excited to see their former champion back in action. Others were booing the destruction of Seth's faction, sympathizing with the underdogs who had been brutally attacked. But most fans were simply in shock, trying to process the magnitude of what they had witnessed. Social media was going crazy. Wrestling news outlets were scrambling to update their headlines. The hashtag New Shield was trending worldwide within minutes. WWE's official social media accounts were being flooded with reactions, questions, and demands for answers. But here's what has everyone furious and demanding answers: how long has Roman been planning this? Who else knew about this alliance? And most importantly, who's next on their hit list? The formation of this new shield raises questions that go far beyond a simple storyline. The choice of Jacob Fatu and Naomi as Roman's partners isn't random, it's strategic. Jacob Fatu brings legitimate credentials from his time in other promotions, raw power, and a hunger for WWE success that makes him incredibly dangerous. Naomi brings athleticism, fan support, and a unique dynamic that no previous Shield iteration has ever had. But the timing of this return is what has conspiracy theorists working overtime. Roman's absence coincided perfectly with Seth's rise to power. His return happened at the exact moment when Seth's faction seemed most vulnerable to a coordinated attack. This wasn't coincidence, this was calculation. Sources backstage are reporting that even WWE officials seemed genuinely surprised by the attack, suggesting that Roman's new Shield operated completely outside the normal creative process. If that's true, it means Roman Reigns orchestrated this entire comeback without corporate approval, which would make him either the most powerful superstar in WWE history or the most reckless. The fan reactions are equally divided and intense. Roman supporters are calling this the greatest comeback in wrestling history, praising his intelligence, his strategic thinking, and his ability to evolve his character in ways that keep him relevant and dangerous. But Roman's critics are furious, arguing that this attack was unfair, unsportsmanlike, and representative of everything wrong with WWE's current direction. They're demanding that WWE management take action, that Roman's new Shield face consequences, and that Seth Rollins receive justice for the unprovoked assault. What nobody can deny is that WWE has just become infinitely more dangerous for everyone on the roster. Roman's new Shield isn't just targeting Seth Rollins, they're sending a message to every superstar who might have thought the tribal chief's time was over. Cody Rhodes, despite surviving the attack relatively unscathed, has to know that his championship reign is now in jeopardy. Roman's history with championship gold makes him an immediate threat to anyone holding WWE's top prizes. The tag team division has also been put on notice. Jacob Fatu's presence alone makes Roman's new Shield a legitimate threat to any tag team championship, and with Naomi's addition, they could even target the women's championship scene. But the most terrifying possibility is that this new Shield might not be finished recruiting. Roman's ability to attract talent, combined with his strategic thinking and Jacob Fatu's connections throughout the wrestling world, means that this faction could grow into something truly unstoppable. The question isn't whether Roman's new Shield will continue their assault, it's who will be their next target and how they plan to completely reshape WWE's power structure. Here's the reality that has everyone in WWE panicking: Roman Reigns just proved that he's still the most important superstar in the company, and he did it by creating the most dangerous faction WWE has seen in years. This new Shield represents everything that makes Roman Reigns so polarizing and so successful. He's combined his natural leadership abilities with Jacob Fatu's raw intensity and Naomi's athleticism to create something that's never existed before in WWE, a truly diverse, truly dangerous, and truly unpredictable alliance. The implications for upcoming pay-per-view events are staggering. SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and WrestleMania season have all just become infinitely more interesting because of what happened at Night of Champions. Every championship match, every major storyline, and every career trajectory has been affected by Roman's return. But beyond the immediate storyline implications, this return represents something much bigger for WWE as a company. Roman's ability to generate this much buzz, this much controversy, and this much genuine emotion proves that he remains one of wrestling's most valuable assets. The Netflix deal, the international expansion, the mainstream media attention, all of these corporate initiatives become more valuable when you have superstars capable of creating moments that transcend wrestling and become genuine cultural phenomena. And here's the uncomfortable truth that has everyone angry but nobody wants to admit: Roman Reigns just reminded everyone why he was the face of WWE for so many years, and why writing him off was the biggest mistake his critics ever made. This new Shield isn't just about Roman's return, it's about evolution. It's about proving that even the most successful superstars can reinvent themselves, can surprise their audiences, and can continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in professional wrestling. Jacob Fatu's presence legitimizes this faction in ways that casual fans might not immediately understand. His background, his credentials, and his reputation make him a perfect complement to Roman's leadership and strategic thinking. Naomi's inclusion breaks barriers and creates possibilities that didn't exist before. Her addition to this faction opens doors for storylines that could involve multiple divisions, multiple championships, and multiple types of matches that WWE has never attempted before. But the most important element is what this return says about Roman Reigns himself. This is a man who could have easily rested on his past accomplishments, who could have accepted his reduced role in WWE, who could have faded into the background like so many former champions before him. Instead, he orchestrated one of the most shocking comebacks in wrestling history, proved that he's still capable of generating the kind of reactions that make WWE appointment television, and established himself as the center of what's likely to be the most compelling storyline of 2025. So here's what we know for certain: Roman Reigns is back, he's dangerous, and he's assembled the most formidable faction WWE has seen in years. Seth Rollins and his allies have been put on notice that their time at the top is over. And every other superstar on the WWE roster has just been reminded that the tribal chief never truly left, he was just waiting for the perfect moment to remind everyone who really runs this company. The war between Roman's new Shield and Seth's faction is just beginning, and based on what we witnessed at Night of Champions, this conflict is going to be brutal, personal, and absolutely unmissable. What did you think of Roman's shocking return? Are you excited about this new Shield formation, or are you angry about the attack on Seth Rollins? Who do you think will be their next target? And most importantly, whose side are you on in this war that's about to tear WWE apart? Drop your predictions in the comments below because I guarantee you haven't seen anything yet. This story is just getting started, and if you're not subscribed to Wrestling News CC, you're going to miss the most important wrestling coverage of the year. Smash that like button if this breakdown opened your eyes to what really happened at Night of Champions, subscribe for more exclusive WWE analysis, and ring that notification bell because this story is moving fast and you cannot afford to miss what happens next. The tribal chief is back, the Shield has been reborn, and WWE will never be the same. Thanks for watching Wrestling News CC, and we'll see you in the next breakdown. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me. What happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.